The Wawa Cup Series is back, and we've already had two events to open up the season, with Brian Webb winning the Mellow Yellow Smooth Fest and Thomas Troxel winning last week at the Auto Club Speedway. But today is the big day that all of these drivers have been waiting for during the entire offseason. It is the biggest race of the year in the Wawa Cup Series, and if you win this race, you will be remembered for a long time. Just ask Jesse Turner, Zachary Fitzwater, Alexander Rowe, or Josh Marzak, just to name a few. And of course, LJ Semedo, looking to go back-to-back in this great American race here today from the pole position. But there are 41 other drivers looking to make history here today in the second race of the 2025 Wawa Cup Series season. We are here at the World Center of Racing the day before President's Day and a couple of hours before the real-life running of the Great American Race for our version of the Great American Race. This is the Daytona 500, the second race of the season in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here and welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. So many races and qualifying sessions and everything leading up to this moment here today. Even though it is the second points-paying race of the season, it is in fact the biggest race of the season. The one that all of these drivers want to win, and some of the best drivers in the channel's history have gone to victory lane in this race in the past. We're going to see who gets it done in 50 laps time. No pit stops in this race, and we could go caution-free as we have all week long, at least in my races, leading up to this one here today. But something tells me we're in store for a wild show, and it's going to be a lot of fun, seeing who wins the Great American Race here in 2025. Join alongside team owners here in the Wawa Cup Series, Igor Barreto and Nathan Stapleton. And Igor, I will start off with you. Your driver, LJ Semedo, won this race a year ago. He has had a near-perfect speed weeks leading up to this moment. Won the pole on Tuesday night, finished second in the Mellow Yellow Duel on Thursday night. And he's going to lead us to the green flag here. What does he need to do to go back-to-back in this Great American Race here today at the Daytona International Speedway?
Oh, LJ definitely has got plenty of experience already. He's the current winner as well. So he knows what he has to do is mainly avoiding the wrecks, knowing the time when to pass, when to go to the inside, to the outside lane. And I think Semedo has all the capabilities to do it once again, especially with all these speed weeks he's having. So we just gotta wait and watch out. But still, it's going to be a long race. It's going to be a tough race, passing left, right, and center. And like I said, the main thing will be avoiding any crashes, any incidents, so you can make your car clean up until the end of the race and then have a shot at the win.
And we'll have to see if LJ can in fact put himself in position once again here in this Daytona 500. He was also runner-up in the Valvoline 400 last August and was runner-up on Thursday night in the Mellow Yellow Duel. He is good here at Daytona in the Cup car, which is a good sign for him and maybe the favorite to win here today. But Nathan, you have a contender, two contenders in this race as a matter of fact, and one of them won on Thursday night with Tanner Parton getting the job done in duel number 2. What's the message to your team and especially Tanner Parton starting there in the top 5 for this Daytona 500 here today?
Well, first off, I'm just impressed by what Tina did on Thursday night with the duel. That 97 car has been cursed in the Wawa Cup Series so far, so I'm proud of him for that. I do think both of our cars are set up much better in the draft than what we saw in qualifying, and I feel like that's going to play into a big factor, especially with the entire 42 car field being on track now. It's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. I don't want to jinx my drivers and say that they will win, but based on what we saw in the duels, I don't think you can count DNS racing cars, but also along with the duels, I think you can't really count almost anyone to get the win here today.
And of course, on Tuesday night, we got a taste of which teams were fast and which ones were not fast. But in the race itself, everything is very different. The draft and the large pack that we're going to see in this race here today creates a very equalizing field, and it's anyone's opportunity to win this Daytona 500 here today. Of course, the dual races both went caution-free, but we had some uncharted drivers race their way in, and on top of LJ Semedo winning the pole on Tuesday night, Ace Garcia took that 42 hot seat ride to the front row for the Great American Race. And there was even a time where Ace Garcia didn't know he was going to even be in this ride. Announcement came through, went back, but Ace Garcia's here, driving that 42 for Racing Motorsports with the outside pole. So he was locked into the show on Thursday night and had a good run, just kept the car clean, and he knew he was going to start on the outside pole for this one here today. We also had his teammate Eric Monaco, J.R. Ribbleton, a great battle in duel number 2 to race their way in, and then Zayden Davidson and Darian Arnsdorf race their way in duel number 1. Zayden Davidson's actually third in the championship standings coming into this race. He had a great run last week at Auto Club, had a great run in the duel to get some points as well, and he's going to have a shot at the points lead if things go his way there in that 00 machine. We also have Aaron Lukes as well, who was very fast and also locked a spot into this race on Tuesday. He's driving for Rut Racing in the number 2 machine. Of course, we have mentioned Aaron Lukes a lot. He is the first 2-time winner on the channel all the way back in 2015. And we anticipate him being in the 10th anniversary race coming up here in about 6 weeks. So just keep that in mind. It'll be right here at Daytona. But today is the biggest race of the season for the Wawa Cup Series. And 42 drivers look to win this race here today. We're going to show you guys the point standings real quick. We got LJ Semedo with a 1-point lead now ahead of Thomas Troxel because Semedo gained all those points on Thursday night for finishing second in duel number 1. So he now actually has a 1-point lead and technically a 2-point lead because he has won the pole for this race. He gets an extra bonus point for that. That will clock in once we finalize the points for the Daytona 500 after we are done here today. Thomas Troxel is 2 points behind officially. Zayden Davidson is 7 points behind officially. Travis Crampton 8 points behind, and Avery Alford tied with Bernardo Oliveira, who won duel number 1 on Thursday night at number 0 machine, looking really fast there. Rut Racing is tied 5th in the point standings with Avery Alford 9 points behind. We have 42 drivers in the field for today's Great American Race. Let us introduce those 42 drivers looking to win the biggest race of the Wawa Cup Series season. Starting 42nd in the number 69 Andrews Racing Ford, Christian Master. Starting 41st in the number 81 Dracoan Racing Enterprises Ford, Roberto Crown Jr. Starting 40th in the number 15 Team Velocistar Ford, Matthew Hubert. Starting 39th in the number 78 Durrani Racing Ford, Brad Stover. Starting 38th in the number 06 Parker Davis Enterprises Ford, Nathan Smith. Starting 37th in the number 20 Rut Racing Chevrolet, Laura Chung. Starting 36th in the number 61 Andrews Racing Ford, Alex Sanventali. Starting 35th in the number 18 Grattan Autosport Ford, the 2023 Wawa Cup Series champion, Drew Webb. Starting 34th in the number 13 Team Williams Dodge, Avery Alford. Starting 33rd in the number 98 NS Racing Ford, Travis Crampton. Starting 32nd in the number 36 Millennium Motorsport Chevrolet, Angel Gutierrez. Starting 31st in the number 62 Pacific Racing Toyota, Thomas Troxel. Starting 30th in the number 86 Durrani Racing Ford, Andrew Miller. Starting 29th in the number 47 Hamill Racing Enterprises Chevrolet, winner of the Season 1 Daytona 500, Jesse Turner. Starting 28th in the number 59 Appalachia Motorsports Chevrolet, winner of the Season 2 Daytona 500, Mr. Edge, Nicholas Samadio. Starting 27th in the number 54 Team Velocistar Ford, Daniel Paulus Jr. Starting 26th in the number 99 Titan Fury Racing Dodge, two-time Daytona 500 champion, Zachary Fitzwater. Starting 25th in the number 24 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet, Bruno Diacomo. Starting 24th in the number 74 Hamill Racing Enterprises Chevrolet, Rogel Dorn. Starting 23rd in the number 9 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet, Bryce Egan. Starting 22nd in the number 52 Hairgel Motorsports Chevrolet, Philip Torres. Starting 21st in the number 43 Racing Motorsports Chevrolet, Brian Webb. Starting 20th in the number 2 Rut Racing Chevrolet, Aaron Lukes. Starting 19th in the number 11 Grattan Autosport Ford, Darian Arnsdorf. Starting 18th in the number 32 Pacific Racing Toyota, Blaine Keys. Starting 17th in the number 6 Parker Davis Enterprises Ford, Isaac Nichols. Starting 16th in the number 39 Evans Ross Racing Toyota, Jack Haas. Starting 15th in the number 95 Appalachia Motorsports Chevrolet, Logan Williams. Starting 14th in the number 23 Team Williams Dodge, Duncan Ward. Starting 13th in the number 44 Millennium Motorsports Chevrolet, Braden Perez. Starting 12th in the number 41 Racing Motorsports Chevrolet, Leonard Kochmer. Starting 11th in the number 4 Hairgel Motorsports Chevrolet, Trey Porto. Starting 10th in the number 3 Dracoan Racing Enterprises Ford, Justin Zidell. Starting 9th in the number 93 Evans Ross Racing Toyota, Kirsten Bell. Starting 8th in the number 82 Hairgel Motorsports Chevrolet, J.R. Ribbleton. Starting 7th in the 00 Team Williams Dodge, Zayden Davidson. Starting 6th in the number 45 Racing Motorsports Chevrolet, Eric Monaco. Starting 5th in the number 51 Grattan Autosports Ford, your defending Wawa Cup Series champion, Ludovic Charette. Starting 4th in the number 97 NS Racing Ford, winner of Mellow Yellow Duel number 2, Tanner Parton. Starting 3rd in the number 0 Rut Racing Chevrolet, winner of the Mellow Yellow Duel number 1, Bernardo de Oliveira. Starting 2nd in the number 42 Racing Motorsports Chevrolet, Ace Garcia. And your 2025 Daytona 500 pole sitter and defending Daytona 500 champion, driving the number 71 Titan Fury Racing Dodge, LJ Sametto. And there is your 42-car field for the 2025 Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500. 42 drivers looking to win the Great American Race here today, one of the biggest races of the season. But it is a difficult race to win, especially in the restrictor plate era on the channel. It's going to be hard to get those runs, and they're going to be right on each other the entire way through. But who knows what we'll see today? Will we see a big wreck early on? Will we see a big wreck in the middle of the race? Will we see a wreck at all? We'll all find out in 50 laps. Let's go ahead and get these drivers to roll off here from the Daytona International Speedway. And as we mentioned, LJ Semedo will be leading us to the green flag in the number 71 for your team, Igor. Titan Fury Racing alongside him, Ace Garcia in the number 42, the hot seat driver for Racing Motorsports. Racing Motorsports, the back-to-back winner of the Valvoline 400. They are a good team to drive for here at Daytona, and Ace Garcia knows that as he qualified outside pole on Tuesday night. Dual winners, Bernardo de Oliveira in the 0, who got an outside lane run on LJ Semedo on Thursday, and Tanner Parton in the 97, our defending Wawa Cup Series champion, Ludovic Charette to the inside of Eric Monaco, driving for Racing Motorsports. Two more uncharted drivers in Zayden Davidson and J.R. Ribbleton. Both drivers raced their way in on Thursday. And then Kirsten Bell and Justin Zeidel round out the top 10 starting positions for the 2025 Daytona 500. Igor and then Nathan, who do you guys think's winning the Daytona 500 here in 2025?
Well, in my opinion, as much as OJ is the favorite, I just want to say him just because I don't want to jinx him. So I'm going to bet on another driver, which I also hope I don't jinx, and that will be Bernardo de Oliveira, who starts in third, my compatriot, who definitely had a great run to number one, just past Semedo right at the finish. So I think he'll have another great run today.
Well, this team did not have a good night in qualifying, but the starter had a little bit more speed in the races. Give me Logan Williams to win here today.
Ooh, that's a bold pick right there, and I know Logan would absolutely love it. His teammate Nicholas Samedea was the slowest qualifier on Tuesday. Maybe they have a little bit more pace for the race. Well, thank you guys so much for watching all the Speed Weeks and all of our Speed Weeks action. Check out Nathan's Daytona 500 after ours. But we've got ours right here. The Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500 about to go green. Here we go. LJ Semedo and Ace Garcia to lead us off in the Great American Race. Lap 1 will be led by Bernardo de Oliveira in the 0, and that is a bonus point towards the championship for leading that lap. And picking up right where he left off on Thursday night, winning the Meliello duel ahead of LJ Semedo. He's got the defending champion of Ludovic Charette right behind him. Leonard Kochmer on the inside lane. Braden Perez and Isaac Nichols making some moves back in there. Kirsten Bell in the middle. Trey Bartow and Jack Haas. The outside lane did not necessarily get the best start, and that is what we have seen all weekend long, is that inside lane getting a good jump at the start of the race. But as the race winds down, the outside lane tends to have the advantage. But LJ Semedo going for the lead on the Oliveira right here in the 71. And looks like LJ is going to barely lead this lap here on lap number 2.
Well, definitely a great start by both LJ and Bernardo. Both of them trying to battle for this first place right now, but the outside lane definitely looks stronger. The inside lane is, let's say, a bit unorganized right now. So they're trying to get their Kochmar and Braden Perez now catching up to Semedo, but Semedo opening up and going to the middle. So still, The outside lane looks to be the strongest. We'll have to see if that stays.
Oh, we got a wreck
That's it. Oh,
already!
that's
And around goes Bernardo, or should I say Bruno Diacomo in the 24. He just got sent around there, and the caution is out here on lap number 3. It is not De Oliveira who got wrecked, because he is going to win the race back to the line in the number 0 with Zayden Davidson, Leonard Kochmer, and LJ Semedo. Wow, that was early, but thankfully it was a one-car incident in turn number 3. Tough break for Bruno Diacomo, however, I don't see too much damage on that machine, and hopefully he'll be able to continue and contend as this race goes along here at Daytona. That was unexpected.
Well, we didn't see any action in the dual races. We almost did, but we definitely made up for it on lap number 3. Luckily, like you said, it was a 1, maybe 2 car incident, but a tough break for Trackhouse Racing and Bruno Diacomo. And that's not how you wanted to start the 500, but luckily, I don't see too much damage on that 24 machine, so maybe that car can stay in the lead path, but a tough break early.
And it looks like that happened entering turn number 3 by the looks of the skid marks there. Somehow that was only a one-car incident as well, and Diacomo's going to keep on going in that 24 machine. Well, we're going to have a early race restart, and it's going to be single file as well. Definitely make things a little interesting here. We do have a couple of these drivers coming down the pit lane here, with Bernardo De Oliveira, Zayden Davidson, LJ Semedo, and Isaac Nichols. Now, fuel should not be an issue in this race, but tire wear does come into effect. Have some other guys in the back as well coming down. Alex Aventali, Logan Williams, Thomas Troxel as well, Nicholas Samadio, Nathan Smith, Brad Stover, Andrew Miller, Drew Webb, and of course Diacomo, who spun around there, also coming down the pit lane. And of course we saw pit strategy become an issue last week at the end of the Napa 400. I think this is a strategic move out of some of these guys. Tires there on LJ Semedo and Bernardo De Oliveira, trying to get a little bit of an advantage here maybe late in the going, even though we've only run a couple of laps. So a very unique situation right there out of those drivers. Well, we only had one car go around, and that was Bruno Diacomo in the 24. Let's see what happened to him to bring out the first caution of the day here in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500. Well, going down the backstretch here on lap number 3, they were 4 wide there. You got Crampton, Savantali, Laura Chung there, and Andrew Miller is just riding that wall. You're going to see Andrew Miller off the pace. We did not catch this as it happened live, but that 86 also accumulating damage from this incident. And just a squeeze to the outside in turn number 3. And Drew Webb also nowhere to go for him, though they kind of keep the momentum going. A side swipe there with Avery Alford and Andrew Miller. That could get interesting there, but tough break for Bruno Diacomo, though. It is nice to see that it was only a one-car incident that brought this caution out. But as you saw, and we kind of skipped out there because I freaked out when I saw De Oliveira come down the pit lane, and I realized that is part of the strategy is tire wear here. Fuel is not a concern, but the tire wear strategy coming into effect for Rut Racing. We'll see how that affects that team as they came down the pit lane under this caution, but only a one-car spin. Bruno Diacomo getting sent around in turn number 3.
So going on to the back straight, these guys are decided to put 4 wide. Crampton, Chung, Miller, and Diacomo, and poor luck for both Miller and Diacomo. Just got stuck there. Giacomo obviously got the worst of it, spun into the wall. Miller also with some damage. Both of them will be off the pace, so very sad incident. But they're still going. Hopefully they don't affect the race much, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we'll see how the rest of this race ends up playing out. We'll see if Diacomo ends up being off the pace. I don't think he's going to have too much damage from that. And Bernardo De Oliveira came down the pit lane, so that gives way to Leonard Kochmer being the race leader here in the Daytona 500. Let's see what he does on the restart here in the Great American Race. We are back here at the Daytona International Speedway in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500. And already 2 races in, have some interesting pit strategy that is going on. Of course, a couple of guys did not take enough fuel at the end of the race last week at Auto Club Speedway and came down just a couple laps left to go. That's what gave Thomas Troxel the race win, but Troxel has had a tire go down himself right there, even though he came down the pit lane with these guys. Bruno Diacomo, of course, got spun around there in that incident, and Bernardo Alvera gave up the race lead. He's going to be restarting in the 30th position here, but with some fresher right side tires, and maybe, just maybe, that'll give him an advantage. Still a long ways left to go in this race. In a very unique situation there with those guys in the back. We apologize for the skip there in the recording, as we were checking to see, to make sure that we in fact had our settings set correctly, and we do. The fuel use is set to 0.57. If you know anything about this game, you know that that is very low, and they should not have to come down for fuel in a 50-lap run. But it does appear that that stop was for tires, and that is something these drivers and teams can in fact do. So the strategy definitely being a very big part of these races early on in the season, but only a couple laps taken away from us there, and we still got ourselves well over 40 laps to go here in the Daytona 500. Leonard Kochmer, Ace Garcia, Brain Perez, Ludovic Charette, and Kirsten Bell is the top 5. You got Barto, Parton, Aaron Lukes, Eric Monaco, and Jack Haas, the top 10. As we're back underway with 44 laps to go in the Daytona 500.
I do think. Sorry, I mean, but I do think it's not really going to come down to fuel. It shouldn't, at least, but I think tires might be an interesting factor here in this one with those guys. With the limited drivers that pitted, maybe tire will affect them later on in the race. That's going to be the question mark. I think fuel should be good. Tires, that could be an interesting factor here in this 500.
Very split up there at the start, at the restart, I should say. So we'll have to see if they can find themselves in a position to move themselves up. But how about this for Racing Motorsports? I'm sure Aaron Abel is happy about this. Leonard Kochmer has taken the lead here in the Daytona 500, with Ace Garcia trying to take it away from him there. And of course, Ace Garcia is a hot seat driver here for Racing Motorsports, and definitely a driver to watch out for in this race. He's not going to be in every race this season, but if he has a good run, wins this race, he is going to find himself in a hot seat quite a bit throughout the season. Remember, Ace Garcia was a full-time driver last year, driving for Millennium Motorsports, and never found himself a ride and never chose to come back as a full-time driver. He's in the Body Armor Pro Series this season. That's his full-time season this year on the channel. And he's still side-by-side with Kochmer here for the race lead as Racing Motorsports dominates at Daytona.
No, definitely great racing by both Racing Motorsports drivers of Kochmer and Garcia. The pack definitely split up after the restart, which was a little bit surprising, to be honest. I imagined they were going to stay really packed in, but no, right behind, I'll say 20th place, they split up, and it will create especially an interesting scenario for the Oliveira, Tomato, and the other drivers to pit, especially those at front, who gave up great track position for a little bit better tires, which I think will influence, but I'm not sure how big it will be, especially considering the difference in tire life. It's about 5 laps, so we'll have to see. But Barto now trying to take the lead from both Racing Motorsports drivers.
First, Trey Barto used to be your driver at Titan Fury Racing as well. So I know you have a soft spot for him there. Drove the 4 for your team for quite a few seasons back in the old Cup Series days. And all these guys are essentially pseudo teammates as well. You got the United Alliance, that's Harrisville Motorsports, Trackhouse Racing, and Racing Motorsports. They've been working together. They got all 3 of their uncharted cars in the Daytona 500. But you got Trey Barto and Jack Haas, who are rivals off the track in a friendly manner in real life, of course. But let's just say they go after each other in the Discord sometimes, and they found themselves together in one of the LCQ races, I do believe, in the Smooth Fest. And here they are on the inside lane and looking to go 4 wide for the race lead. Barto moving up on Ace Garcia and Leonard Kochmer right there. And this is a very tricky situation, especially off the exit of the corner here. Garcia does not have Kochmer cleared quite yet. But if I'm Kochmer, I'm going to let my teammate in right here to avoid a major accident from happening. But Kochmer's going to try to keep that outside lane to his advantage, and this is not going to work out too well. They cannot hold this for too much longer.
I was about to say, I think The reason why Pat split up was because they knew it was too early.
Garcia has a shot now. They
And
move
looks
up.
like they're good.
Wow,
They are good.
great job out of those drivers right there. And, that made us all nervous right there for a moment. Man, we've had a wild race so far. Even though we had that one incident, you got the pit road coming into play, the tire strategy, that faked this out. But I don't think it faked the Oliveira out because he's on that inside lane, and he's closing back in on the top 10. LJ Cemeto's also on the inside trying to work his way up. Zayden Davidson was one of those guys up there that came down. I think they're going to be fine in the long term, which is good to see. We don't want to see 2 straight races with pit road issues. And that's like my biggest pet peeve with NR. How about the Smooth Fest winner? And Trey Barger got shuffled out of line right there. Jack Haas let it happen. Now Brian Webb out front in the 43 won the Smooth Fest 2 weeks ago. Daniel Polish Jr. had him in the booth yesterday for the Daytona 125K. And how about another uncharted driver, Darian Arnsdorf on this inside lane with Laura Chung, Christian Master on the inside lane. Christian Master started dead last in this race in the 69. He's in the top 10 now for Andrews Racing.
Yeah, definitely great racing from all of these guys, especially Christian Master and the amazing Sonic Tree livery. But let's talk about Brian Webb. Both his teammates led the race, and now he also led a lap right there, so definitely showing great pace to the Racing Motorsports organization. But here comes also the number 11 of Darren Arnsdorf to lead, which is showing that also the uncharted drivers are doing great, because we had Garcia, we have Arnsdorf now, we have Davidson battling for the lead, we had Ribbleton starting the top 10. So this is just showing that these are drivers mean business, and they want to win these races.
And of course, the uncharted drivers had a great showing in the second duel, especially Carson Miller, I believe, finished top 5 and didn't even make the show because Eric Monaco, J.R. Ribbleton were battling right there in the top 5 with him. We might be starting to see this race kind of settle down because you got Brian Webb holding that outside lane. That's what we saw yesterday in the Daytona 125 with Blaine Keys getting it done there. 3 wins in a row over in the Pro Series, but Blaine Keys is nowhere to be found up front at the moment. As a matter of fact, Pacific Racing as a whole is struggling. Troxel had to come down the pit lane again because the tire went bad on his pit stop, and he's lost the draft. Rogal Dorn's lost the draft in the 74, and then Bruno Diacomo off the pace from the incident, but we still got 39 drivers to be exact in this main draft. Blaine Keys a little bit further behind in the field, though he is on that inside lane. And here comes Bernardo back to the inside. He's back in the top 5, and it did not take him too long to get back in this position, which is great to see out of this driver, who very well may have the best car in the field. And LJ Cimetto, if you get him back up there, it could be between the Oliveira and LJ Cimetto.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. As here we go
Not
again.
quite. Not quite.
Ooh. But I do think early on, after the restart, I think a lot of drivers in the back part of the field realized, hey, we still have 40 laps to go. Let's just chill for a little bit, let the top 20, top 25 race it out, see what happens. And it almost worked out for them as they went forward because of Jack Haas earlier. But now it seems like we have 39 cars in the league draft, and looks like these guys are finally calming down a little bit. They realize that, hey, we still have 35 laps to go in this lane. That's a long way to go, and great to see these guys start calming down. Here comes my pick of Logan Williams, and I picked Logan Williams because I think Appalachia will have a good car in the 500. Logan Williams especially was fast in one of the dual races on Thursday, and we'll see of what side of the staple change happens here today, the good side or the bad side, because it's always 50-50, but this would be a huge win for Logan Williams if he can get the job done.
Logan Williams is definitely a driver who can win this race here today, considering that he got himself to the race lead. Now, what we are seeing right now is pretty much a cycle race, which is very unique to see in this era with the ratings and with the restrictor plates on these cars. Though I will say Brian Webb has been able to keep himself in the top 5 a majority of this run. They are utilizing that inside lane very well. There's a lot more grip on that inside lane than what we have seen all week long with these guys, and they are using that to their advantage. Zayden Davidson in the 00, who is trying to take the points lead. He could very well take the points lead here today, and he is eligible for the championship. He, of course, as an uncharted driver, has to race his way in and qualifying each race. But here he is, back in the top 5 coming down the pit lane. You got LJ Semedo here in the back in the 71 machine. And he's found himself in the middle, so he kind of stopped there in his route to move up through the field. And Artie Oliveira was able to get up there. He moved to the outside lane. Laura Chung, really haven't talked about her too much yet.
Full wide in the middle.
We do have 4 wide. It's Fitzwater, Kirsten Bell, and Ladovic Schretten in the middle there as well. That's Travis Crampton. I think Fitzwater will have a gap to move back up, and he will, but that was tight. These next-gen cars are very wide. They're wider than the Gen 6 cars are, and there's not as much room for these guys to be able to make it 4 wide, and that's why when we see that 4 wide, we all hold our breath. They got out of it once already today. We'll see if they get out of it at all the rest of the day, because odds are they'll probably find themselves in that situation again at some point. Logan Williams looking to get a push from Zayden Davidson for the race lead. It's about to talk about Laura Chung there in the number 20 machine. This is a driver joining Rut Racing this season. Rut Racing seems to have a very strong program here at Daytona this weekend, which has definitely helped out the Oliveira in the Zero. Aaron Lukes made his way in qualifying, though he is in the back of the field at the moment. And this is a driver who's not won in the channel in over 2 years. Had a great season in the 2022 Turkey Hill Truck Series, but has not won since that very strong campaign 2 years ago. Well, she's got an opportunity to get her first ever Wawa Cup Series race victory here today. So we're closing in on Bruno Diacomo in the 24. He got spun around early on. He was off the pace, has some damage from that incident. We'll have to see how this ends up affecting this pack, as they're closing in on him really quick, and we might see the traditional split right here. Logan Williams going to utilize the inside lane to get away from the 24, though that was not quite as bad as some other times we've seen. Laura Chung, Christian Master, that outside lane getting held up. And this is something that we tend to see quite a bit here on these super speedways, especially at Daytona. And there's just nowhere to go for Laura Chung and these guys in the outside lane.
Yeah, just poor luck. Daytona honestly has moments like this, and some drivers just have to get on with it. Just poor luck for Chung, Webb, Zaidel, and all of those guys, because now they have to regroup, try to get into the middle and inside lane as fast as possible so they can get around Giacomo, not lose too many places, not lose too much time, and also mainly not lose the draft as well to the main pack. Because if they lose, they might never get it back. So it's important to get low as soon as possible and get over Giacomo just to get back to the main group.
The toughest thing about getting stuck behind a lap car like this is you're usually the last car to get around them. You know, it's like on the highway, and I know you don't drive these, but a lot of us do drive on the highway. You get stuck behind someone on the right lane, you want to move to the left lane, but you got a bunch of cars behind you. Well, the car in the back is going to be the first one to make the move, and you just keep on going. You're usually the last one to get around that slow car, and it's the same exact thing here for those guys. And Laura Chung went all the way to the back of the field, and don't look now, here he comes. Blaine Keys, and it's fitting the guy behind him is Nicholas Samadeo, because guess what? Blaine Keys won yesterday. He's now got 29 career wins on the channel with that win yesterday. If he wins here today, he's going to tie Nicholas Samadeo on the all-time wins list. But Samadeo's moving his way up. His teammate is leading, and Appalachian Motorsports is looking a lot faster than they did a few nights ago. That is for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%, and especially looking at I saw, I believe it might have been dual 2, I'm not entirely sure. Logan's looked really, really fast in his duel, and I was like, maybe I should pick him for the 500, and I ended up doing that, and I think he's going to have a really good shot here today. I think a lot of drivers are going to have a shot. Shout out to that Sam Vitale in that number 61. I know a thing or two of what he can do. He got top 5, maybe top 6 as a rookie in the JBL Cup Series last year, and in a good ride here in the Wawa Cup Series here. And I'm excited what he can do this season, and I'm excited to see what all these new drivers and new faces can do here at Daytona. And how about that 3 wide through the middle from Sam Vitale?
How about it? Just as you're talking about him, and this is one of the first races for Alex Samatali. Specifically, he's had his drivers in other series before, but Samatali, a rookie to the Wawa Cup Series, probably the least experienced charter driver. But to your point, Nathan, a lot of success over in the JPL Cup Series. He knows what he's doing, and he found a good split to the middle there as Isaac Nichols also went forward on the inside lane. Hey, great to have Isaac Nichols back on the channel. We've been saying it for the past month, of course, but This is definitely a race that I know Parker Davis Enterprises under the umbrella of Grattan Racing Technologies. And you want to know something? It took us that long to mention Grattan Autosport. I mean, we've mentioned Ludovic Charette starting top 10, but Grattan Autosport, not necessarily known for their super speedway prowess. That would more fall in the lines of racing motorsports, which they've kind of gotten shut out up front at the moment, because what we've got is a complete cycle race here today. And we're seeing all sorts of faces up front in this Daytona 500. Very different from last year's Daytona 500 and even the year before that. And how about this? Here he comes. Blaine Keys for Pacific Racing. This is such a dangerous combination going into this season. And especially once we get into the heart of the season in a few weeks. But watch out for Blaine Keys as the season rolls along. He's definitely got a chip on his shoulder from losing the Wawa Cup Series Championship last year. Had that significant point lead going into the finale race and lost it. Well, he wants to have a chance at getting that championship once again. And this is a points race. And this race is going to award the same amount of points as all the other ones. And a race wouldn't be huge in terms of that championship. And huge for Blaine Keys as a whole on the channel. Isaac Nichols and Logan Williams still side by side up front. A great run for Logan Williams here today as we're halfway through the Daytona 500 here in the Wawa Cup Series. These guys got held up by Bruno Diacomo, Brian Webb, Laura Chung, Eric Monaco, Justin Zidell, Ludovic Shred, Zachary Fitzwater, Jack Haas, and Travis Crampton. But that's it. You got the 62 of Thomas Troxel. Andrew Miller's also off the pace in the 86. I believe something happened to Andrew because he's a lap down. Probably was a tire going down on that machine, unfortunately. And they're closing in on Rogel Dorn, who is also on the tail end of the lead lap at this point, about to be lapped. But Logan Williams, you may have been on to something, Nathan. That 95 looking really fast. He's been able to control this lead better than we've seen anybody do all day so far. And he has a legitimate shot at winning this Daytona 500 here today.
Oh yeah, I think I was spot on. I do think there was some drivers in qualifying that focused on going for the pole, like that 71 car and a few others. I also think there was some teams that might have been sandbagging a little bit, not showing all the colors. And I think a couple of those were Appalachian Motorsports and NS Racing. I think those were a couple of probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 teams that didn't want to show everything they had. And both Logan Williams and Tana Pun especially in the dual races and in the 500. Once we get these pats, they've had a lot more speed in the draft than in qualifying. That might be better than starting on pole here. We'll see how that trades out, but be a pass halfway in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series 500. So far, so good, only that single constant. We'll see if that's all we see here today.
Oh boy, Blaine Keys moving up right here. And Edgar, I want to mention another driver here, and this is another guy I used to drive for you. How about Brad Stover here? And I don't even remember him driving up to that point, but he is here in the 3rd position here in this Daytona 500 for Durrani Racing.
Yeah, Stover definitely a great driver. Got, I believe, the first ever win of my team in the Wawa Cup Series days. So definitely someone I'm very fond of. Great guy. And this pack looked to be really solid. Catch up Rogel Dorn. Let's see how the pack handles.
Isaac Nichols, Blaine Keys, and Nicholas Samedeo. Now, I don't think that 74 is particularly off the pace in terms of the speed of the car. So he should be able to catch the draft right here. It's just going to take a second. Williams is very impatient. He's trying to find some advantage around him. And just like Laura Chung earlier on, the race leader on the outside lane at a major disadvantage as they close up the lap traffic. And don't look now. Here comes Blaine Keys in the 32. I tell you what, this guy has been unstoppable, looking to get his 4th win of the year already. J.R. Ribbleton's in the top 5. Tanner Parton's up here. Here comes Trey Bartow. Here comes Jesse Turner in the 47. Wouldn't it be something if 10 years later in the Daytona 500 he goes back to victory lane in this race? he's got a chance at doing so here in this 47 today. How about this race and who we have seen up front? It's a who's who all day long as we're closing in on Andrew Miller now in the 86.
Things are getting really interesting. We are full wide in the middle of this pack, catching up with a lap car.
Brother.
And this is allowing that second pack to close in. But I don't know if that pack wants to close in at the moment because we are full wide once again in the back of this pack. Huge lead for the number 6. Probably does not want that, but I think they are going to settle back down in the back. I don't know. Well, actually,
we got more full wide.
Still full wide.
Daniel Polis Jr., Braden Perez, Darian Arnsdorf. I don't know if they're getting out of this one. They are not. Kirsten Bell getting set around. Going into the trial. Will she merge back cleanly? She will. Oh my
goodness.
That could have been a massive wreck right there, and thankfully for the field, the entire field, it was not. And just as we were talking about Logan Williams and Brad Stover, they're still stuck behind Rogel and have not been able to get around him as Rogel's a lap down. So is Andrew Miller, Nicholas Samadeo also getting held up there. And they got all these guys on the inside lane closing back in. J.R. Ribbleton has taken the race lead in the 82. Here comes Isaac Nichols, Aaron Lukes, Ace Garcia. Look at all these uncharted drivers up front here in this Daytona 500.
Looking like Fuel 2 at the moment.
Duncan Ward in the middle of all this as well for Team Williams. A great run for Duncan. And LJ Semedo trying to move his way back on the inside. Daniel Paulus Jr. on that inside lane as well. This has been a cycle race. And it's very different than what we have seen all week long in both of the dual races. We had drivers that led double-digit laps in those 15-lap events. LJ Semedo led, I believe, 11 laps in duel number 1, even though he didn't get the win. And then Tanner Parton led 12 laps in duel number 2 to get the win in that race. Not the case here in this Daytona 500. We have seen many different leaders, though Isaac Nichols has been able to control this field fairly well the past few laps, but we still got a long ways left to go, and we could still end up with another wreck in this race. Ace Garcia to the inside for the race lead in the Racing Motorsports car. Here comes Drew Webb in the 18. And Duncan Ward moving up 4 wide. And Drew Webb almost had a nose to the inside of him. There was contact through the tri-oval.
That was definitely close once again. These guys are flirting with 4 wide in a big run right now. This is, I believe, the 3rd or 4th time already we avoided this race. So, in one side, great avoidance by all of them, but in the other side, calm down, guys. Let's not crash the whole field out. But still, great race, especially from Isaac Nichols. I believe he was not racing when I joined in the Wawa Cup Series, so great to know him, great to see how great of a driver he is. And also, all of these guys who are moving up and down the field, like Semedo, Koshmar, who were up front early on, they're back now, and lap traffic affects once
not
again,
only
I
that,
believe.
the whole field's actually bunched back up because Laura Chung and Zachary Fitzwater, Brian Webb, Justin Zeidel, they're on that inside lane. Remember, they had lost the draft when they originally got in to Bruno Diacomo, and now as they try to get around the lap car of Thomas Troxel, who just lost the draft. These are guys that their cars are fine. They have just not been in the draft, and these guys have so much more speed in these cars. Troxel's now in the draft now, and he should race along with these guys just fine. But Logan Williams is trying to recover from getting stuck behind Rogel Dorn earlier on. And Nicholas Samadeo, Brad Stover, who were all up front earlier on, are now tagging along at the back of this pack. Meanwhile, back out front, Ace Garcia has taken the race lead away from Isaac Nichols, and here comes Daniel Polis Jr. in the 54, Jack Haas in the 39, Ludovic Charette in the 51. This is a lot like a Talladega race, the way this is playing out with how much cycling we've got, but we're on Diacomo again in the 24, and he is definitely off the pace, and this is going to be huge in terms of who gets past this, because this will probably be the last time we run into him if this race stays green. They got to get around him cleanly if they're going to have any opportunity at winning this race. Jack Haas looking to take the race lead away. Ludovic Charette right behind him. And the outside lane once again getting held up. That's Paulus on the outside with Garcia and Nichols. And once again, it does not pay to be the dominant driver of the race. The dominant drivers get stuck in that outside lane. They get held up by lap traffic. And then we see new faces up front, including guys like Zachary Fitzwater and Laura Chung, who lost the lead because of Diacomo earlier in the race. Now she's in the top 10, looking for the race lead. Justin Seidel to the inside, Brian Webb to the inside. It is anyone's guess on who's going to win this Daytona 500 here today.
Seidel looked really strong and good too.
Oh boy, that was close. Boy. I thought they were going to go 4 wide with Drew Webb and Philip Torres. Oh my goodness.
What a race this has been, and Seidel, I would not be surprised if he has a good shot. He was very strong in duel number 2, and he's up front. And I'm impressed with all these guys not having a wreck yet. Less than 15 to go. Now it's time to get antsy, even though they've been antsy the entire time. Here comes Travis Crampton out of nowhere in the number 98 machine. Sam Badillo. So many new players here, and at the line it will be 13 laps to go in the 500. Is anyone's guess of who's going to win?
Lord Chung is now back out front. Eric Monaco cycling back to the inside. There's a lot more grip on the inside than we have seen in years past, and that is absolutely shown here today. Not at all what we expected. I've talked about that enough, how much cycling we've had. It's taken me by surprise. I think it's taken all of us by surprise, and it's anyone's race at this point. Kirsten Bell on the inside. And the nice thing, you know, they're still trying to get around Diacomo back in here. Paulus did find himself back to the inside, though. He fell all the way to the back there, about 25th position. We should not have to run into Diacomo again in this race. And there are no other drivers in the field who are off the pace, because all those other guys who had lost the draft have regained it. And Diacomo's the only driver who is officially with damage and off the pace. All 42 drivers are still on the racetrack here as we run lap 39, going into lap 40. 11 laps to go in the Daytona 500, and Eric Monaco now out front in the 45 as they're 3 wide behind him.
3 by 3 by 3 behind the leader, and this definitely shows also about the cycling, and it's interesting because I believe we do not have this in the duel. So maybe the track conditions in this race in the 500 are still different from the duels that are affecting even this cycle, which definitely shows. But still, some of the dominant drivers have been able to stay up front. So right now, definitely the favorites. It looks like the top 4 drivers, the likes of Seidel, Brian Webb, Laura Chung. We still can see some surprise, especially as Monaco is staying right there up front. So maybe we'll see, but let's see how much this race will still change as we go with 10 to go.
And Eric Monaco is taking this race lead at a very good point in this race because, like I said, we're not going to hit Diacomo again, and we're only 10 laps to go. Now, his teammate, Brian Webb, he's got those driver ratings in the bag compared to Eric Monaco, and he's going to be at an advantage to his teammate here in this situation. Brian Webb may be the favorite at this point. I think Laura Chung's also going to be a favorite. I think Kirsten Bell also has a very strong car in the 93, and remember, she almost lost it and caused a huge wreck, but she managed to keep that 93 in the race, and now here she is running second there for Evans Ross Racing. This is a team that we did not expect to run well in the 500. They have struggled on the super speedways in the past, and they got both of their drivers right around the top 10 right now. Travis Crampton on the inside lane. Nicholas Samadillo in the 59 with an opportunity at his second Daytona 500. That was also almost 10 years ago when he won the 500 by absolutely nothing. Alex Sanvitali and Braden Perez on the inside. But Eric Monaco is now controlling this field, just like what we saw yesterday with Blaine Keys in the Pro Series race. And now we may have ourselves a very similar situation, though I think these restrictor plates are allowing that inside lane to have a bit more of an advantage than what we saw yesterday. Brian Webb to the inside of Monaco. Help from Kirsten Bell and Travis Crampton. Oh, and Ledovic pushing down on Fitzwater right there. 8 laps to go here in the Daytona 500.
Names that we have up front in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500 is something else. Brian Webb, who I think it might be one of the better cars in the field with racing motorsports. Monaco, Bell, Chun, Seidel, Ledovic. I believe that's Fitzwater to the outside of Crampton himself. Sam Badillo, Sam Vitale, who I know of. So many faces, so many drivers, so many cars in this lead pack. It is like playing the lottery right now. with how many cars have a shot. Fantastic racing, no big one yet, and it's going to be very interesting if we can make it to the end on who wins the Daytona 500. But Mongo, how about him? He's getting a massive shove from behind of Lord Chung, Justin Seidel as well. I might be saying that Monaco might be in one of the best spots at the moment.
Like I said, Giacomo's not going to become a factor. He's too far behind to really become a factor. But Laura Chung might become a factor. That outsailing had a huge head of steam, and Laura is going to go for it right there on Eric Monaco. Great run for Laura Chung. This is the kind of race that Laura Chung could win, just like LJ Cimento won this race. Here around! Ace Garcia in the 42! Got sent around there. It's going to be our second caution, and we're going to have a late race restart here in the Daytona 500. And Blaine Keys almost got into him. Watch out for these guys. And we got more spinning. Barto's around in the 4. Blaine Keys. Gutierrez. Brad Stover. That second pack could not avoid it. Oh, my goodness. Laura Chung won the race back to the line. She's going to be your race leader on this restart. 2-lap cautions here at Daytona.
Well, I saw the full wide, said it a couple times, and unfortunately, the third or fourth time was not the charm. And the first big one of the day strikes late in the Daytona 500.
Oh my. That this is going to give guys like Justin Seidel, Brian Webb, Ladovic Charette a shot at this Daytona 500 win. Eric Monaco's kind of been the dominant driver here in the 45 machine. This would be a huge win for Eric Monaco. This would be a huge win for Laura Chung, a huge win for Justin Seidel, Brian Webb. These are guys who have not had much success in the rating series overall. We got an opportunity here today. Let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the second caution of the day here in the Daytona 500. And then we'll get back to racing here in the Great American Race. It'll be 4 laps to go when we restart here in the second race of the 2025 Wawa Cup Series.
Gave that crack me up.
Now we got 4 wide here in the back of the field. Thomas Troxel, Bernardo Oliveira has been all over the place. I mean, all these guys have been all over the place today. Roberto Crown Jr., haven't talked about them too much. But Ace Garcia really getting the worst of this one. Those 3 guys got out of it all right. Garcia in the 42. We're trying to get to him. There he is. Finally got a hold of that 42 machine, but Angel Gutierrez also got a hold of him, man. In the outside wall for the 36. Heavy damage on Gutierrez. Alfred was behind that as well. Such a tough Rick for Ace Garcia. Got the front row start for this race on Tuesday night. Had a great run with this Racing Motorsports team. And then this right here, Bartow and Ribbleton. Those are Hairgel Motorsport teammates right there getting caught up into each other. And Trey Bartow going to get slammed here by Gutierrez. And then also going to get slammed by Blaine Keys, who was coming in much faster. And Blaine going to take himself out of the race. Yes, that win yesterday came at a cost. Then you have Brad Stover, Jesse Turner, Nathan Smith, Rogeldorn. Turner absolutely destroyed. Now look at that 36 machine. A massive shot there. Almost getting sent over. He could have flipped. Nathan Smith and the Brad Stover who got in. The Trey Bartow, Rogeldorn, Andrew Miller. I believe they slowed down enough to avoid major contact. But that's our big one here in this Daytona 500. But that's going to give way to a great finish here with only 4 laps left to go.
This is what we were all feeling for a while. Finally did not end well, and unfortunately for Ace Garcia was strong in qualifying and strong. But Bocon Jr. got sideways in the glass, took out Barlow, and then Angel Gutierrez is going to take a shot and a half, a couple of them right there, and almost up and over the other way that you normally don't see it. Tough way for Barlow, Blaine Keys, and many others. The big one finally strikes here at Daytona, but luckily we will get back racing, and it will be a 4-lap shootout in the Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500. Get a bag of popcorn, get a drink, because it is going to get good late in this one.
And Laura Chung will lead us off to the green flag here in this Daytona 500. But will she be able to hold off and get the win? We'll find out here in just a moment. Let's get back to racing. 4 laps to go here in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500. We are back here at the Daytona International Speedway. And let me tell you, we are shaping up for a historical and memorable finish in this Daytona 500. Laura Chung is your race leader for Rut Racing, looking to get her first win on the channel in over 2 years. Eric Monaco, many wins on the channel, but not much success in the rating series, looking to win as an unchartered driver. Justin Zeidel, only 1 career win in the Wawa Cup Series, not much success in the Wawa Cup Series the past few years. Looking to get Owen Miles, his second Daytona 500 win. Brian Webb won the Smooth Fest 2 weeks ago, and what we thought was an upset win, looking to do it again. And the defending champion has a shot at the 500. Ludovic Charette there in 5th. Kirsten Bell, Jack Haas, Travis Crampton, Zachary Fitzwater, and Mr. Edge is up front too in the top 10. You got Davidson, Sabintali, Sametto, Williams, Perez, Arnsdorf, and you know the great thing about all of this? With 4 laps to go, all the drivers involved in that accident are at the back of the field, and all the other drivers that have any significant damage are starting at the back anyway. So we're going to have a clean finish, more than likely. We may still have a wreck, but the lap traffic will not be a factor for this finish. It's 4 laps to go in the 2025 Daytona 500. Laura Chung, Eric Monaco, Justin Zeidel. Who's going to win it here today in Daytona Beach, Florida?
We saw this in the Host Sprint Series race on Wednesday night. It was a 2-lap dash, and Alexander Wolven from 4th to 1st in 2 laps. This is 4 laps, so anybody in the top 10, in theory, if they can get enough of a 1, they can steal it. How about Justin Zeidel 3 wide to the lead for the Colin Racing Enterprises? That car was very strong in the dual race, and I think it could be a strong contender late here at Daytona.
And of course, with the restrictor plates on these cars, that get up was not good for Laura Chung, and she lost the lead right then and there. And Justin Zeidel to the inside. Kirsten Bell. It takes a while for these guys to wind it up here. And Justin Zeidel looking to win the Daytona 500. Kirsten Bell, Ludovic Charette on the inside lane. Once we get up to speed, watch out for guys like Sam Badillo, Alex Sanventali. They could be upset picks. How about Kirsten Bell? She's looking 3 wide for the race lead as Eric Monaco has found the outside lane again. And it's 3 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Zeidel led at the line, but all these guys are going to be going for it very hard at the end here with 2.5 laps to go.
Yeah, definitely great racing we'll have to the end right now. The top 10 bunch up already. So, honestly, it will definitely most likely be Zeidel, Chung, or Bell to win this race. But still, if anything happens, any one of these top 10 drivers can win. So we'll have to wait. But Monaco with a great jump over all of them, and he already dominated before the wreck. I think he will stay up front in this last 2 laps to take the 500 because he still looks dominant.
Well, he can't get out ahead too far, otherwise these guys are going to have a huge run on him. They're still 3 wide for second. That is not helping them out in their attempt to get to Eric Monaco. Now keep in mind, Eric Monaco barely raced his way in on Thursday night in the dual race, but he had a great run in that dual race, finished in the top 3. And here he is in a Racing Motorsports machine, uncharted driver, but he is full-time for these guys, looking to take the white flag in the Daytona 500. But Justin Zeidel in the 3 does not want to give it to him. Kirsten Bell, Nicholas Amedeo are on the inside lane, and they're going to be side by side as we take the white flag here in the Daytona 500. 1 lap to go for Eric Monaco. Will he lead the next time around?
I'm really liking Monaco's chances. The outside lane, the last 2 laps, has been very strong. You got Monaco, Chung, Brian Webb, Crampton, and Fitzwater all up in that top. But here comes Bell on the inside. Inside versus outside. Who's going to get the job done in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500?
Justin going up to the middle lane. I don't know if that's going to work out in his favor, but he's going to have to get some help behind him. Kirsten Bell, will she try to make it 3 wide for the lead? This is going to be between Eric Monaco and Justin Zeidel, or is it? Justin's got the middle lane here. Will he have the advantage on Monaco? Eric Monaco on the outside lane. An uncharted driver's going to win the Daytona 500. It's Eric Monaco who wins it here in the second race of the Wawa Cup Series.
What a finish.
And Eric Monaco, Racing Motorsports, again with a win at Daytona. An uncharted driver gets it done here today in the Great American Race. And Eric Monaco is going to be happy about that one. No doubt about it, the biggest win of his career. He's been around for a long time on the channel. Barely missed out. He was full-time in the Wawa Cup Series 2 years ago. And even though he's full-time, he's uncharted this year. But he made his way in. He dominated near the end, and he is your Daytona 500 champion here in 2025.
Fantastic win from Eric Monaco. I know he's going to be very excited about that one. Pretty active in most Discords, and I'm not surprised about this whatsoever. Racing Motorsports, they've been the team to beat on these super speedway type racetracks, and once again, they get a race win, and this time it's the Daytona 500. What a race, though. That was fantastic. Only one big one in a 50-lap race, and goodness for you, Alex, I think these guys only came down one time. They didn't come down again. Fuel was not an issue. Tires were not an issue.
Like it was last week at Auto Club, and it ultimately did not matter, I think, in that regard. Eric Monaco. This may not be his only win of the year either. I think Eric Monaco is a very good driver looking to gain some redemption from losing his ride a year ago at Racing Motorsports and not coming back last year. Was in the Sprint Series. He got some wins in the Sprint Series last year, and what a return for him, and what a way to start the season. Justin Zeidel, what a run for him. And, you know, I was pulling for him as well in that regard. It's been a while since he's seen success here in this series. Had a decent run last week. He's going to be top 10 in points after this run. Laura Chung, a great run for her. Kirsten Bell and Jack Haas, how about that top 5 there? After what happened to him last week at Auto Club, that was a good run for Echo Evans-Ross and her team. Brian Webb, Nicholas Sambadio, Travis Crampton, Ladovic Red, and Alex Amatali, the top 10. There was just no telling who was going to have the advantage in this race as this thing went along. But once Eric Monaco took the race lead, it seemed like he had the advantage. And Igor, what a race that we had here today in this 2025 Wawa Cup Series Daytona 500.
Definitely an amazing race and a race for the ages. Simply incredible, especially these guys avoided any wrecks for most of the race. Most of the drivers staying up front except when lap traffic got there. So honestly, all of these drivers, all these 42 drivers raced greatly. Obviously, some got unlucky, some got anxious. Great race from both Monaco dominant in the last 15 laps, which just shows, and he's got the win. He's definitely jumping right now, I believe. Also, props to Laura Chung, who had some disappointing seasons in 2023 and 2024 in the Wawa Cup Series, but is starting well this year. Kirsten Bell as well after avoiding that big wreck that could have happened in the trial to finish fourth. Samadio, who made some places in the restart, Charette, San Vitale, Brian Webb, and especially the Racing Motorsports organization as well, who were a bit unlucky at the end, but still got some great finishes with especially Brian Webb. So honestly, I just hope to see more of this in hopefully every super speedway race, or at least in every Daytona race, because this was definitely incredible.
Oh yeah, 100%. That was one of the best 500s I think we've seen in the Wawa Cup Series so far. Just the racing was fantastic. A little bit of a cycle, but then you had some guys that could just stay up front. Saw some incredible moves through the middle, and it ended up being Eric Monaco getting the race win for Racing Motorsports. I think it's easy to say that Racing Motorsports is probably the best team when it comes to these super speedway races, and a great win for him. Seidel second. I knew he was going to be strong. He was strong in the dual race, and it's another good one here. Great one from LeChun, Bell, Haas, a double top 5 from Echo Evans-Ross when they've kind of struggled out these super speedways. Brian Webb with another good one. No shocker to see Sam Deal up front. And plus, with Crampton, he lost the draft early on and got himself a top 10. Ladova Short, defending champion, top 10 and 9th. And then great run from Alexander Vitali, someone that I know can be really good with the reins stuff, and he gets 10th. And good one from Logan Williams. I didn't change them too bad. Still got a top 15 one here at Daytona. A fantastic race here in the Daytona 500. And it's only race 2 of the season for the Wawa Cup Series, and it's going to get good.
We're just getting started. And hey, I think we all kind of say that the season starts after Daytona, and next week's race is going to be a lot of fun because we're at Atlanta, and we're at the old Atlanta. We're going back to the one we used to always run, and I gave you that track, Nathan, to use in the Sprint Series, and I think you can back me up when I say that race is going to cook. But on top of that, it is going to be a telling race on who really is going to be good throughout the season. And, all the hoopla at the beginning of the season going to start to calm down. We're really going to start getting down in and seeing who is good and who isn't as the season goes along. Because, hey, everyone was up front. Everyone and their brother was up front here today in this Daytona 500. But that's not to take away from the great race that Eric Monaco had. And that car was clearly one of the fastest ones all week. Monaco didn't have the best run in qualifying, but he raced his way in on Thursday and then held that 45 up front. And he got it to the lead at the perfect time as well, because all these guys who we saw kind of have a dominating run, Laura Chung, then Isaac Nichols, then Logan Williams, they all got stuck behind the lap cars and fell back. Monaco did not have to deal with that. He got up front at the perfect time, held that outside lane, and won the Daytona 500. Easily the biggest win in Monaco's career. His first ever Cup Series win as well, if I'm not mistaken. Eric Monaco's never won on the Cup level on the channel before. He's got double-digit wins. I think this is his 14th career win on the channel, if I am not mistaken. I'm saying all this, and I have this sheet right in front of me. That is his 14th career win, and his first in the Cup Series in any Cup level. Chick-fil-A, NOFSRL, Wawa Cup. That is, what a win for Eric Monaco there. Get it done here in the Daytona 500. Well, hey, the season is in fact just getting started. Head over to Nathan's channel and watch the JBL Cup Series Daytona 500 after this one. That is at 1 p.m. on your channel, Nathan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
All right, so if you like what you saw here, definitely go check that out. A lot of these same drivers, ratings as well. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you all stick around. Hop over to his channel and watch that as well. But Igor, final thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us for this one. I know it didn't go the way you hoped for your team. Still a great run, but what are you looking forward to the rest of the season?
Well, definitely we had a great start to the season, knowing from the Turn of Fury points right now. Obviously, both drivers finished the 500 also in the top 15 with Fitzy 11th, Samito 13th. So it's mostly just keeping up this great pace. Hopefully, we can still get both drivers into the chase like we got in 2023. Yeah, 2023. I was confused there for a second. And also keep having great races like we had today. Not only for my team, but for the whole series. Great racing all throughout the field. The minimal crashes as possible, just so we can still have this great battles all throughout the field. So honestly, that's about it. We're still at the start. There isn't much clarity yet to who will be the favorites to win the title. So it's mostly being consistent right now, having top 10, top 15 finishes, and then later down the road we'll see how things will go on.
Well, good luck to your team, and you'll hear Igor in the booth for some more races this year, and of course you'll hear Nathan as well. Hey, check out the Her Sprint Series every week. Nathan does a great job with that. All right, thank you guys so much. Enjoy the 500 in real life today as well, assuming it doesn't rain. And hey, we'll see you guys next Saturday for the Truest 400 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the third race of the 2025 Wawa Cup Series. Congratulations to Eric Monaco, Aaron Abel, and Racing Motorsports for their Daytona 500 win here today. And here are the points for the Wawa Cup Series after the first 2 races of the season. On behalf of Igor Barreto and Nathan Stapleton, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you guys later.